Welcome everyone. Certainly we thank all of you all for coming tonight. Something there that our board members decided we needed to take on a project similar to this. Don't know of anywhere else where we have meetings of the board actually talking to parents in a group like this, but we felt like it was the best way for us to let you all know exactly what is taking place with the state education reforms. First off, I want to introduce new director, executive director of the Louisiana School Boards Association there, who we've gotten to be good friends with, and something there that we are working on to improve our relations there so that we can keep going. Mr. Scott Richard there has come tonight from Baton Rouge, so we appreciate that. Next, I'd like to introduce our board members on the left there, representing Walheim and Abita, Mr. Charles Harrell. Representing the Vanderbilt area, Mr. Rowan Tipton. Representing the Covington area, Ms. Beth Hines. Representing Macomb, Mr. Willie Jeter. From the Mandeville area, Mr. Ron Betancourt, who will be speaking tonight. Covington area, Mr. Mike Derman, who will be speaking tonight. From Slidell, Ms. Robin Mullett, who will be speaking tonight. And from Slidell, Ms. Mary Kay, our Belisario, our vice president there, who represents the Slidell area also. I think we have a chair over there, Ms. Celia. You want to take it? Celia, representing the Pearl River area. We know, and you are up here, of course, and we know that you know down there that we are one of the best school systems in this state. Ron is going to talk about the ACT a little bit on his presentation. If you saw in the paper, we have 14 national merit semifinalists this year in our high schools. You know, pretty awesome number for having 8 high schools. Our presentation tonight is going to be devoted to giving you an understanding of how the state education reforms are seriously impeding the progress of our system. Every reform that we have studied is designed to make public education appear to be failing, and all the other systems that they have dreamed up and brought in for profit to show that they are the successful way to go with education. Our only recourse was to join a lawsuit with our 2 union groups in the state and the LSBA to try and declare these reforms unconstitutional. The hearing for that lawsuit will be on Tuesday, October 16th in the Baton Rouge area. We're excited about seeing what will take place there, although we're not very optimistic. We will answer questions that you may have. Please kind of write them down. Keep them to yourself to the end. We have the microphones in the aisles there for you to come up and ask questions at the end. We want to keep our program flowing here, and we have those microphones for you there so we can make sure everyone gets to hear the questions and we're not saying what they say, that type of thing. So we're going to try and see how that works. As I said, it's our first time doing something like this. The state seal was changed about 4 years ago and added the 3 drops of blood from the chest of the pelican. Now, we're not sure, I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to represent for the state, but for education, it simply means that we're begging for every drop of blood we can get just to survive from the state. And it hasn't been a pleasant task since this past legislative session. To move on to some of the different topics and try and flow through this and keep it moving with, I think will be entertaining for you and be able to be very knowledgeable when we finish this. I have Mary Kay is going to come up and do a little part next. Thank
you. Good evening, and I also would like to thank Johnny Vetrano for letting us use Fountain Blue High tonight. We'll be in Slidell High tomorrow night if you want to come for a refresher. We are not here tonight to talk about politics. However, the facts that we have are the result of political decisions in Baton Rouge. So, should you wish to talk to your legislators, that is why we gave you the handout tonight so you can correspond with them. Let's look at the new laws that took place this year. Our legislators passed the Education Reform Agenda. There was a lot of media coverage, but there wasn't very much investigative reporting. Act 1 and Act 2 were the two major new laws. These are not good for St. Tammany, and they are also not good for any other public school system in the state. These laws rely heavily, and they favor non-public schools over public schools. This means generally charter schools and voucher schools. I'm going to try to explain a little bit about these types of schools. Act 1, which has lawsuits against it, is commonly known as the Tenure Bill. It also restricted the duties of your elected school board members. Act 2 is the Voucher Bill, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Vouchers are happening right here in St. Tammany right now. We are not immune. This bill, the Voucher Bill, Act 2, directly affects you, your children, your schools, and your taxes. That has not been covered very much in the media. Now let's look at the voucher schools. Initially, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, known as BESE, established 126 voucher schools in the state. We had no say in that. Vouchers receive public funds originally intended for public schools in accordance with the state constitution as how public education money is to be spent. But the voucher schools don't have to follow all the rules. The rest of us have to, but they still get your money. Voucher schools, 92% of those 126 schools are religious-based. All but one are non-public. They are mostly for-profit. There are 4 voucher schools right here in St. Tammany Parish. All 4 just happen to be religious-based. Examples of voucher schools would include, I should say examples of schools to which voucher children can attend, would include the virtual or online schools. These are the schools in which the child leaves the public system and sits at home all day unmonitored taking courses online. This does not include a child who is in our system who is taking an online course. The voucher schools also would include NOCA, which is the School for the Arts in New Orleans. It would include LSMSA, which is the Math and Science School in Natchitoches, the School for the Deaf, the Maritime Academy, which I think is in Belle Chase, I'm not sure, and others. It also includes all voucher schools, current and future, that BESE will establish. In our parish or in other parishes, your money can go to schools in other parishes. Act 2 also gave us a new term for teachers called course providers. Course providers are where people in other states, individuals or corporations or just anybody, can teach an online course to a student, and they don't have to meet any of the criteria that our teachers do, but they still get state funds, the MFP money, and our share of local money. These new laws from this session redirect funding that would have gone to your local schools and your teachers and your librarians, to non-public schools in our parish and outside our parish. The state deducts these funds right off the top of our portion of the MFP, supposedly on a per pupil basis, but that brings up something interesting. Our cost to run your school remains exactly the same, even if we lose 5, 10, 20 voucher students. This year, our costs increased because we have a higher enrollment. Yet despite all this, despite the increase in the number of students, we will receive less state MFP funding, and we will be further penalized because our voters in St. Tammany vote to support their local schools. Now let's look at the voucher students. There are 133 voucher slots in our parish. These are the students who qualify to take a voucher. So how do they qualify? Voucher eligibility is determined by 2 major things. One, the student must be from a failing school. Well, last year we didn't have any failing schools. But the state defines a failing school as a C, D, or F school. Also, the family income level for a family of 4 can be 250% of the state poverty level. That's about $58,000 for a family of 4. Now let's look at those letter grades for schools. A C is average, and a D, we could say, is struggling. But you and I know that those aren't failing. Students with C's and D's go right on to graduate. They didn't fail. These letter grades were created to include an increase in the number of students eligible to get a voucher at the expense of the public schools. 47 so far of St. Tammany's 133 voucher slots have already been taken. So let's look at that. How much has that cost our school system? According to our Director of Finance, about $500,000. Remember, our fixed cost didn't go down a penny. In addition, the new MFP formula this year will provide St. Tammany with about $2.3 million less than last year, and Mr. Derman, I think, will talk to you more about that. The state constantly tells every school system, just do more with less. Well, you're seeing the cuts in your schools as a direct result of these laws, and you have a handout with those cuts, some of them listed. There are more. Very quickly, let's look at what the MFP, the state funding formula, is. The MFP sends to St. Tammany, for every student in our system, about $5,900. When a voucher student leaves our system, the state deducts from us $9,000. So what's the $3,000 difference? Why is there a difference between what we would have received for a student in our system and what was taken away from us in Baton Rouge when the student left our system? The state assigns a representative amount of your local property and sales taxes and redirects that total amount to the non-public voucher schools in St. Tammany and in other parishes. This is the result of the new laws and the new state funding formula which our legislators voted for. I'd like to introduce Mr. Betancourt.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Good evening, everybody. The August North Shore Conifer had a great article about our school system. It talked about the main reason for our success are our parents, our teachers, our parental expectations of what we're supposed to provide, and we try to do that every day. Our superintendent made a point of stressing those two areas. The parents are so important to this system. You just can't say enough about it. And our teachers, we know every day our children need a good, qualified, certified teacher in their classroom so that every child has an opportunity to receive a world-class education here in St. Tammany Parish. The article also goes on and touches on our ACT scores. The recent scores are in with 21.9s, our ACT average. It's tops in the state and it's above the national average. The ACT is regarded as probably the best indicator for college readiness for our students. So we think we're doing a pretty good job there. Then this article talks about, our excellence is everywhere, and it says if state leaders could bottle that success and spread it around, in fact, they probably would. And that's kind of like a duh moment. In fact, they're doing just the opposite. It seems like Act 1 and Act 2 are designed to weaken and dismantle public education. They're going so far as to take in our local money, millages that our parents and the voters in this parish have dedicated for specific things. The state sees fit to just take that money away from from our school system. I'm flabbergasted. I just don't understand. Hopefully these attorneys will be able to make the case and the judge can make a good decision with this upcoming suit there. Anyway, that's a great, I don't know if there are any more August conifers around, but it's a great article about St. Tammany Parish Public Schools. As far as Act 1 and 2, every one of our local legislators voted for these acts. So if you talk to them, you may, try and get an understanding of why they thought this would be good for St. Tammany Parish. We were told that St. Tammany wasn't going to be affected by all this new stuff going on in Baton Rouge, but we are being affected. And you would think maybe going private there would be some savings, but there's no savings to be had. And like I said, they're hurting us. Voucher schools, charter schools can use what they call a Teach for America as an educator in place of a certified teacher that goes to college for 4 years or a school of education. These TFAers, as we call them, they get 5 weeks of training and then they're supposed to be able to do an excellent job for a child in our state to get a good education. I was talking to the guy that cut my hair, and to be a cosmetologist in Louisiana, you need 1,500 hours. I would rather have somebody cut with little hair I have left after 5 weeks of training, and let's make sure that our children get a certified teacher to teach them, someone with the proper amount of education. We talked about the MFP, and over the last 3 years, we've gotten more than 1,000 new students. I think it's 1,056. But we're receiving less money now per student from the MFP formula than we were 3 years ago. It just doesn't seem to make sense, and it doesn't seem to be the way to go if you want to continue providing public education with the resources that are needed. Thank you for listening, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Derman now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Just to kind of give y'all a little bit of background about myself and my family and our connection to public education. My entire family, mine and my wife's, were born and raised here in St. Tammany Parish. My parents and her parents both attended public school at Covington High. We both are graduates of Covington High. Both our children are graduates of Covington High and also of LSU. We both have college degrees, my wife and I, and we understand the true value of what a public education means to every child in St. Tammany Parish. And it's just the reason why many of us are up here tonight is because Ron spoke about the PTA and parental involvement, and Mary Kay. Many of us as board members, that's how we actually got started and then moved our way into being a school board member. We were very active within our own schools with our own children. And then we sought to be even more active, and we joined our local PTAs. And then with that involvement, we decided that we wanted to move even further into representing our district. And that's why we're here today. We're not politicians. We don't view ourselves as politicians. We view ourselves just as you are, parents, concerned citizens about the future of not only our community, but of our children. And that's the reason why we're here tonight, to talk about some of these issues that are currently facing us. Many of y'all have we talked about the limits. Here in St. Tammany, we take what we consider sometimes negative impacts and we turn them around and we make lemonade out of them. And we work hard. Our administration, Mr. Trey Foltz, our superintendent, and all the assistant superintendents work hand in hand with the board to try and put forth what we consider the best image and the best product for our students, our teachers, our parents, and everybody. Because we understand when times are tough, you have to tighten the belt and you have to do some difficult things. And if that's exactly what we've done as far as with the administration. We've gone through and made tremendous cuts in multiple areas already, which total up to almost $18.5 million. And you can see them on the presentation there. I'm not going to go through each one. But one of the things that is critical when you look at this is that we've eliminated 165 positions already. Now, that's everything from, you know, whether it's food services, janitor, teacher, para, whatever. As Ms. Belisario was talking about, you know, we've had either elimination or the reduction in librarians. We've had paras, homebound teachers. Just, you know, in your handout there's a list of everything. One of the key things, I think, probably the two most important, is that we've eliminated what we call our Administrators Academy, or where we prepare future principals. We've had to eliminate that. We've actually won national awards for this program, and where we take people that want to come out of the classroom and have the desire to become an administrator. They actually are trained, coached, and prepared to be an administrator, or to find out they don't want to be one. I mean, hey, there's no shame in saying, hey, I don't like that job. I want to be in the classroom with the students, and that's fine. But that eliminates us from having wasted motion and wasted time in this whole process. One of the things I think people don't realize is that under our collective bargaining agreement, our teachers have not received a pay raise in 2 years. This year, they're not receiving a step increase. So the teachers are feeling the impact of the funding shortage that we are experiencing, and we have no choice in this matter. This is not something we take pride in or enjoy doing. This is something we were basically forced to do to try and balance our budget. There again, our administration, Mr. Foles, has done everything within their power to not impact the classroom environment, the instruction that takes place within the classroom. So we have made tremendous cuts in all other areas to try and help balance our budget, with the fact that we knew that we were going to be having reductions in the MFP funding. Jackie, if you go to the next one, please. The MFP funding, and for technical terms, is the Minimum Foundation Program. We're going to call it the mystery funding plan for tonight, because we don't really understand exactly what's going on, and when we ask everybody else further up the ladder, that they don't act like they know what's going on either. But in what Mr. Betancourt had mentioned earlier, if you'll look at our state funding over the last 3 years, in 2010-11, we had 35,500 students. We received $5,868 per child on an average. This year, at 2012-13, we had 36,557 students, and we're receiving $5,578 a child, or a reduction of $290 per student. Well, that doesn't sound like a whole lot when you say it's $290 per student. But if you look, we basically have the same amount of funding in 2012-13 as we did in 10-11. And we have 1,056 more students to educate. In essence, that $290 reduction per student equals $10.6 million. Now, that's just one area that we've been cut or reduced, but we're not being affected now. 10.6 million is a pretty large effect. And, you know, then we had this new term that was kind of given to us in this latest rendition of the mystery funding plan again, and it's called transfer students. Now these students don't attend our schools and haven't been attending our schools. They've been out of our system and therefore don't count towards our student count, so we don't get paid money for them right now. All we do is get deducted money for them to go somewhere else. And if you look at the numbers, it's kind of mind-boggling. In 2010-11, we had 12 students for a total of $42,800. Okay, no big deal. 11 to 12, that one grew by over 10 times. And that figure went to over $500,000. This year, it doubled, went to 260 students for a total cost of $2.1 million. Now that average cost per child from last year to this year almost doubled. It went from $4,300 a student to almost $8,200 a student. And yet our funding is going down. Theirs doubled. Now, there again, I'm calling this the mystery funding plan. We're not sure exactly how this works. Then we go to what we call, I guess if you want to call it the voucher and the combination of all of this, this is the total. These figures indicate the number of students and the cost for their tuitions that are charged to our school system. So you can look up there and see that some of them are getting $10,450 a child. Keep in mind, the state gives us $5,500, a little over $5,500 a child. That difference is made up with our tax dollars. And I say ours, I'm talking about the people that live here in St. Tammany. I'm not talking about the school board. I'm talking about the residents, the parents of our public school students, and the rest of our community that supports public education here in St. Tammany Parish. They're taking our money and sending it out of parish to another facility. And yet our children are being given less money to educate them here at home in our own schools, by our own teachers, with our own parents that are very active within our schools. It's very discouraging, to say the least. I mean, we look at this and, you know, you kind of wonder, well, if we were losing $2.1 million in the transfer and the voucher students, and then we go back to where we're losing $10.6 million in the MFP funding, and you go, well, that adds up to $12.7 million. To give you an idea how this ripple effect, if you want to call it that, that almost equals the salary of 170 classroom teachers. Now, you say, well, how many do we have? Well, we probably got about 3,500 classroom teachers. But what this does, this reduction impacts every child that is in our school system in St. Tammany Parish, almost 37,000 children. Means that almost every class will be increased by 3 students. 10 to 15% increase in each classroom. Well, I know the ones of you that are teachers, and as a parent, if I increased my children from 2 to 3, it would be a pretty big problem to have to sit there and go to ball games and change diapers and feed them and do all of that stuff. So when we have teachers that are basically picking up 2 to 3 new students, it not only affects the teacher, it affects every child in that classroom because of the time that it takes to keep control of the class, to educate the children, every aspect of the school environment is changed and it's impacted. So when our representatives say that this was not going to affect St. Tammany Parish and our school system, here again, I say they're wrong. And it's up to us, the silent majority, everybody that sits out there, the parents, the teachers, grandparents, just business people, to understand the impact of what this means to our community and what it means to our children. This is their future, and we're playing with it. And we don't want to be accused of not doing anything and everything we could that's within our ability to protect them and to try and guarantee them a great public education and a great future for our whole community. I guess that leads us right into my last little thing for me to talk about. It's like I got all the PowerPoint slides. I'm sorry about that. But y'all are probably sitting out there wondering, how in the world did we get into this? What happened? I mean, was anybody talking about this? Well, many of us on the school board met with legislators, members of the lobby, the chambers, state reps, not even our own. We're across the state. We met with the actual author of these bills, Steve Carter, at one of our local board members' house, Ms. Beth Hines, and you can see the picture there with many of our board members that attended that first little meeting. But we met constantly with our legislative delegation in Baton Rouge, here in Covington, at our central office, at Coop Drive, wherever and whenever they said they would listen to us, we went to them. And we tried to explain to them what our concerns were and what was going to happen. Are we naive enough to think that there aren't changes that need to be made in public education across the state of Louisiana? No, we understand that. Do we think that St. Tammany is perfect? No, we understand that as well. If there's something that's being done, like Mr. Betancourt said, somewhere else, then let us go get it, or let the state bring it to us and incorporate it into what we do. In the same token, if we do something well and it's proven to work, then take it from us at no cost, because we've constantly volunteered whatever we have to anybody to have and utilize to better their education system in their own parishes. We have an open door policy, very transparent. Our legislators had several opportunities to address this recent legislation and the fact that we asked that they exempt A and B school systems from any of this criteria. They did not support that. We asked that they understand what it was that they were voting on before they voted. That didn't happen. Every representative in St. Tammany Parish voted for these reforms. Every one of them. In many cases, their vote was the deciding vote that influenced the outcome of many, either the amendments or some of the other legislation that took place. It is disheartening, but we're not giving up the fight because our children are worth it. We ask that you become active in your community in any capacity that you can and work to educate everyone on these impacts that are occurring to our system. You know, whenever y'all moved to St. Tammany, many of y'all did, some lived here already, but y'all chose to move here. Just like we make decisions every day to what we're going to wear to work or how we're going to fix our hair or whatever, we make choices. And in that same breath, 80% of the residents of St. Tammany Parish voted to support the St. Tammany Parish public school system in their millages and in their sales tax because they had confidence in what we do and how we do it. The problem is these changes that were voted on, you had no choice in it. And if you did, it was like ours, that it was predetermined, the outcome. There was no give and take. There was no real conversation about the magnitude of these changes and what those impacts would be. You know, it really is, there again, concerning and where we are and what we need to do. And I'm going to introduce Ms. Robin Mullet. She's going to take it off from here and tell you all about the comparisons and the differences of public versus non-public, I guess, or charters. So Robin, you got the floor. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mike. As you can see, I'm standing in front of the podium because I'm so short they make fun of me, so that's why I'm going to stand in front of it. I'm here to talk to you about how it affects our students in the classroom, what they're learning, how it affects their teachers, how it affects our school system. Because all these changes that in the name of choice comes at a price, and we feel that that price is detriment to the growth of our school system. Why? Because this accountability, these choices that they keep talking about, they're not equal. You know, the horse is out the gate. We have these two bills have passed, and now they're Act 1 and Act 2. Okay. Like Mike said, we're going to make some lemonades out of lemon. But we can't continue to do that because everything in these bills is unequal. And it's not fair to our students, our teachers, our community, our taxpayers. Let me give you some examples of exactly how this affects you, how it affects me, how it affects every taxpayer in St. Tammany Parish. Let's start with, let's say the taxes. St. Tammany Parish School Board, we have to be accountable to you, and rightly so. We have to. That's our job. We have audits. We have transparency. We have to make public our budget. We have to make public our teacher's salary. How about the new voucher schools that are coming in St. Tammany Parish? And most of the charter schools. There is no accountability. They do not, under law, they do not have to have an audit that they show the public. Why? Because they are in it to make profit. They are a profit organization. They are either run by a company, a group, some entity that they are formed for profit. Great. I'm all about capitalism. That's great. But not at the expense of us, the taxpayers. Not at the expense of the taxpayers. Let's look at the difference between the traditional public schools and the voucher schools. Let's go with, I know you have my handout there, the state regulations. We must, all traditional public schools, we're regulated by state mandated curriculum. We must teach that curriculum. You know, sometimes people say, Robin, you know, why do we have to do this? And why can't they learn this? And why can't they be more creative? And why can't the teachers do this? Why? Because we must follow the state mandated curriculum. Who writes it? Not sure yet. Seriously. Voucher schools do not have to follow any state mandated curriculum. Seriously, they do not have to follow this. They get to, matter of fact, one of the schools that applied for a charter in Slidell is excited because they might teach Swahili. And that's great. Just don't use my tax dollars for it. Let's look at traditional public schools, and I'm very proud of this. We teach every kid that walks through our doors. Every kid, every handicapped kid, every gifted kid, every poor kid, every rich kid, every blue-eyed kid, every child that walks through this door, we teach every day. Yes, state laws mandate us to, but we're proud to say that we do it, and we do it very well. Voucher schools, if you have a mentally handicapped child, in the new rule, in the new, is it Act 2? Yes, Act 2. If you have a handicapped child, parents, you want to go to a voucher school, you have to sign a waiver if they have no handicap facilities. You sign a waiver saying that they will teach your child to the best of their ability. You know, is that equal? No, but they're using your tax dollars to do it. All right, let's go to, oh, this is a good one. We are mandated by law to provide every child who is expelled from our school an education. We have an alternative school. It's very expensive to run schools, as you've heard earlier. Oh, and I think we do a pretty good job with our alternative schools. We try to get these kids straight. We try to get them back in school. You know, it's very expensive. If you go to a voucher school, charter schools, actually, and I don't have it with me tonight, and I wish I did for documentation, there was a list of things that you could get expelled at a charter school for. This is wearing your name tag backwards, chewing gum, taking food out of the lunchroom, putting your head on the desk. Showed one of my principals this. He goes, wow, if I could do that for every child that misbehaved, I'd have the perfect school. Yeah, wouldn't we all? But then again, I'm proud that we teach every child every day that come through the door. Our teachers. Very proud to say that 100% of our teachers are certified here in St. Tammany Parish. Very proud to say that we have the largest percent of national board certified teachers. I'm proud of that. It's state mandated for us. We must have certified teachers. The new voucher schools, you know, I received an email from a gentleman because he was very upset with me because I insulted the charter and voucher schools. I said at a school board meeting, because I was shocked to find out that the school that's applying in Slidell has getting their teachers off of Craigslist. I'm not going to apologize for being shocked about that. And that's fine. If they want to get their teachers off of Craigslist, I'm okay with that. Don't use our tax dollars for it. That's all I have, you know, that's what gets me. All of our teachers are fingerprinted. All of our teachers have background checks. We're required by law to have free and reduced lunch and breakfast. Proud of that. Sometimes it's the only meals that these children get. I'm proud of all these things that we are able to do with less. But it's frustrating when more money is more than we bring in is being funneled to schools that make profit off of our tax dollars. All in the name of choice. Yes, we are accountable. Yes, we have to be accountable. And I'm doggone proud that we're accountable. We're accountable to you. We're accountable to our children every day. But who's accountable for the people that put all of this on us, this burden? When are they going to be accountable for what they're doing to not only our students, not only our teachers, our school system, but all our taxpayers in St. Tammany Parish? Let's have an equal playing field. If the horse is out of the gate and we're going to have charter and vouchers in traditional public schools, then let them be equal. Quit handcuffing us. You know, it's amazing when I tell people that this is going on. They're like, this can't be. I didn't believe it either. I told Miss Tipton one time, I said, I think I'm in a John Grissom book. It's just unbelievable. But that's where we are today. That is why we're here today, to help you to understand. We have to stand up and we have to tell the people that chose to vote for this, you said it wouldn't affect St. Tammany Parish. Look what it has done in 9 weeks. We have just been in school for 9 weeks. What is going to happen by the end of the year? We have got to stop. We have got to stop the train. Our voice can do that. We are the voice for you, us, the 15 board members. Yes, you did elect us, but our voice did not carry. I'm sorry, it didn't. We tried. We had breakfasts like Mr. Dearman said. We tried those things. We tried, we spoke, we emailed, we begged, we pleaded on deaf ear. We have to unite with our teachers, our parents, and our taxpayers to say, look, guys, now do you see what it's doing to St. Tammany Parish? You are the ones who voted for this. You are the only ones that can change the path that we're going down. I live here. I was raised here. Like Mr. Dearman, I was a product of St. Tammany Parish schools. My children all were graduates of St. Tammany Parish public schools, My daughter has moved back. I want to have a grandchild that goes to St. Tammany Parish public schools one day. I live here because I love my community. I choose to live here because of the quality of the education that we have here. With a high quality of education, we have a great way of life. We value education. We value our neighbors. It keeps all those things. A high educated populace keeps our crime rate down, which keeps our house values up, which makes more people like you and I want to live here and want to be a community. We have got to stop. We have got to stop this train. It is destroying public schools. It is destroying our children's education. It is destroying their way of life. It is destroying our future. Thank you.
Okay, just a little quick recap before we start asking, letting you answer some questions. Certainly, you know, the big question now is what do we do as citizens? I think you've got the basic idea there that we've stressed that, you know, we were given these mandates by the legislators of this state. And as we said, St. Tammany was right at the top of pushing this through, no matter how we try to get some input. You know, we were never asked as educators, and the main education groups in this state, none of us were ever asked to be a part of setting up what the education reforms were going to be like. It was strictly done by the administration of the state. We were completely left out. And, you know, we get asked all the time for our legislators, y'all didn't provide us any solutions to the reforms. We did not get the chance. We were never asked. A few of them sat in at some of the sessions that were coming on, but we're never allowed to say anything or give any serious input to it. You know, so we're just trying to get an equal playing field. You can see this is, I mean, this is totally wrong for us to take our public school kids and doing all what they've been doing and how much we support them, done everything we can to get them the best possible education, and yet they're going to take our money and give it to some, you know, to some of the small religious-based schools that say that they're going to do better and we're going to give choice to the parents and so on. Well, they have no accountability, so, you know, how could you as a parent possibly know where to send your child? And if you had a choice between schools, when if there's no accountability, you have no idea who's being taught, who the administration is, and so on. So anyway, we just want to let you know, and hopefully we've provided you with information to see how critical this is. As I said, we just decided as a board, somebody had to start letting you all know exactly what's taking place. If you got the kids certainly in the lower to middle school grades coming up, there's no way we can be sure to tell you what's going to happen in the next few years if this continues on and they just keep thinking up ways to try and make public schools look like they're failing. That's what it's all about. They want us to look like we're failing, so that their system can look good and so on, and they'll take the money and run, and we're going to be left with whatever.